you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rabia Khatoon, and today I will be presenting our research on the impact of task-based instruction, or TBI, on the collocational knowledge and narrative writing task to text, from task to text, collocational gains in ESL students' writing skills via task-based instruction. This study specifically focuses on a group of Pakistani ESL students and explores how TBI can enhance their writing proficiency. And we will move on to our next slide. This is us. I'm Rabia Khatoon and my co-author, Ms. Najia Nazir. Let's move on to our first slide, that is introduction. So there are many challenges of ESL writing in Pakistan. Our study begins by highlighting the significant challenges faced by ESL students in Pakistan when it comes to writing in English, because English is deeply rooted in their education system, emphasizing its importance for future opportunities. However, as our research points out, this doesn't automatically translate in proficiency because students frequently struggles with foundational aspects like grammar and sentence structure and weak vocabulary, commanding further hinders in their ability to express themselves clearly. And a key factor contributing to all these difficulty is tendency to directly translate from their first language, which might result. Let's move on to our next slide, which talks about TBLT. So TBI, or task-based instruction, task-based language teaching, is a promising approach, which is rooted in communicative language teaching, where the goal shifted from simply knowing grammar rules to actually using the language effectively and meaningfully. Schmidt's noticing hypothesis, which suggests that learners must consciously pay attention to specific language forms for them to be acquired. So what this framework tells us, it is particularly relevant for collocations because those natural word combinations like heavy rain or make a decision, which are crucial for idiomatic and fluent writing. While we all know that its specific impact on collocations and narrative writing in contexts like Pakistan is an area we wanted to investigate further. So that leads us to our research questions. So this study poses 4 research questions. The question 1 is, how does TBI affect ESL students' writing collocational accuracy in narrative writing as measured by frequency and errors? Question number 2 was, how does as measured by fluency and coherence in standardized assessment? Question number 3 was, what is the relationship between collocational accuracy and narrative writing proficiency following TBI? And question 4 is, how do ESL students perceive TBI's impact on their collocational learning as measured by motivation, confidence, and engagement in a Likert scale survey? So these 4 questions were used. Let's look at the noticing hypothesis, which was proposed by Schmidt in 1990. So they want to emphasize that learners must consciously notice language forms or linguistic structure in the input for them to be acquired in order to be used in their further communication or language use. So it means to the language structure, even at a very low level of awareness. That is a basic step in the learning process. And it is also showing that research has consistently supported this idea, showing that when learners pay attention to a specific vocabulary or grammatical structure, their retention improves, and that leads to the uh, accuracy, which also improves. Looking into the noticing hypotheses further, let's move on to our conceptual framework. Oh, no, literature review first, sorry. There is implicit versus explicit learning theory and how it is related to TBI. Implicit learning is, unconscious acquisition through exposure, and it is limited for. It often requires conscious processing. So basically, it was proposed by Christian's input hypothesis model, which tells us about, attention-driven engagement go through retention. So if you look closely into that, it is necessary to contrast, to explicit and implicit paradigms of learning, because implicit learning is employed to through exposure to the language and input without grammatical structure form. Whereas explicit learning, however, involves conscious, directed attention to language forms, typically through instruction, which draws students' attention to some features of language. And we can say that there is the evidence that substantiate the assertion that noticing maps directly onto. That leads us to the claim that TBI can facilitate through learner-centered tasks, aligning with the noticing hypothesis, which make them aware of the process, what they are going through pre-task, during task, and post-task phase. That helps them to foster their noticing skills and depth of the language processing, which also in turn links to the Swine's output hypothesis, which emphasizes on producing language during task-enhanced noticing of linguistic gaps. Let's move on to our next slide. There is, we will discuss the crucial role of collocations in improving language skills, specifically writing. So teaching collocations improves writing skills by, strengthening more collocation in context aids retention and expression of the words in a given context. We can say collocations enhance text clarity, cohesion, and benefiting overall the writing performance of the students. When students use collocation as an intervention, their writing performance improves because they are familiarizing themselves with the collocations, word pairs, which promotes authentic communication. And using collocation in lesson plans can help our students to write more precisely and smoothly, which will improve their writing performance. We can also say explicit collocation instructions helps learners avoid common errors, improving writing quality, and give their writing a professional aura. Collocational based activities such as collaborative storytelling, integrating collocations into instructions equip our learners with the tools which are necessary for them to be more fluent, more cohesive, and compel them to do impactful writing. And that leads us to the next slide, which is our conceptual framework. As you can see, this figure illustrates the conceptual framework of our study. It's a hypothesis that via noticing, depth of processing, and collocational knowledge, moderated by prior vocabulary knowledge. And despite there's a robust evidence for the noticing hypotheses and TBI, their integration for collocational not learning in resources, it constrains ESL context is limited. So this study addresses this gap using substantial efficiency in promoting noticing and collocational accuracy and writing skills among Pakistani learners that will contribute to SLA theory and pedagogy. So you can see the basic component in this conceptual framework will be the prior knowledge of vocabulary, which will be assisted by TBI, that will promote noticing as well as facilitating the depth of processing, enhancing collocational knowledge, improvement of narrative writing proficiency. Over to my co-author. Thank you, Ms. Najia. You may continue.
Hello, everyone. This is Najia Nazir, and now we'll continue with our presentation. Thank you, Rabia. We'll continue with the methodology section. So moving on to our methodology, this study employed a mixed methods design with a pre- and post-intervention approach. The intervention itself lasted 4 weeks and was conducted at a government institution in Haripur, Pakistan. Our participants were 44 female ESL students, all aged between 19 and 20, who were enrolled in a compulsory English course. Convenience sampling was used due to practical limitations of the teacher-student relationship. However, we ensured that all ethical guidelines were followed, including obtaining informed consent from all participants. The TBI intervention was structured into 3 distinct phases to maximize learning. In the pre-task phase, we focused on raising students' awareness of collocation, and in the during task phase, it was all about active engagement through collaborative activities, transforming examples, which was of course crucial for Schmidt's noticing hypothesis. And this phase was designed to encourage deeper cognitive processing. Finally, the post-task phase provided opportunities for reinforcement through teacher feedback and peer review, asking students to engage again in collaborative activities. That in turn allowed students to refine their understanding and use of collocations. To gather our data, we employed a multifaceted approach. Students completed narrative essays. The essays were crucial for assessing their writing proficiency and the accuracy of their collocation use, scored against a robust rubric with excellent inter-rater reliability. A detailed collocation analysis was performed on all essays, where we meticulously coded for the frequency and types of collocation errors, using software to aid in quantification and diversity analysis. Finally, a post-intervention questionnaire captured students' perceptions of the TBI program. This included Likert scale questions to measure changes in motivation, confidence, and engagement, as well as open-ended questions for qualitative insights. All right. So now let's look at our findings, starting from research question 1, which tests collocational accuracy. As you can see from table 1, there was a clear and significant improvement. Before the interventions, the students had a lower percentage, as you can see over here, and then post-intervention, it moved on to 86.11%. The statistical analysis confirms these improvements are highly significant with a large effect size of correct collocations. Furthermore, we observed an improvement in diversity of collocations used, indicating a deeper understanding beyond just a few common phrases. As you can see this, that is the collocation analysis according to the usage of verb noun, adjective noun, and prepositional collocations. All right, for our second research question, we examined narrative writing proficiency. Table 2 illustrates a substantial increase in average writing scores after the TBI intervention. This improvement was statistically significant as well, with a large effect size indicating the TBI had a powerful positive impact on their overall writing abilities. Now, this box plot visually reinforces this result, showing not only a higher median score, but also a narrower interquartile range, suggesting that the improvements were consistent across the student group, with no unusual scores pulling the average down. These gains were particularly noticeable in fluency and coherence, which were key aspects assessed by our rubric. Our third research question investigated the relationship between collocational accuracy and writing proficiency. The results show a strong positive correlation, meaning that as collocational accuracy increased, so did writing proficiency. This relationship is statistically highly significant. Furthermore, our multiple regression analysis revealed that collocational accuracy is a substantial predicator, and as you can see with the result over here, it accounting for 60% of the variance even after controlling for the initial vocabulary knowledge. The screen plotter, as you can see over here in the figure, it visually represents as a strong positive relationship, showing a clear trend where higher collocational accuracy aligns with higher writing scores. Finally, for research question 4, we looked at student perception of the TBI intervention. The Likert scale responses show overwhelmingly positive views. A large majority of students reported improved understanding of collocations, and high scores were observed for motivation, confidence, and engagement. From the open-ended questions, which you can see a few key themes emerging here in this side of the slide, two prominent themes emerged: the value of collaboration and the importance of teacher feedback. Students highlighted how group discussion actually helped them achieve a less anxious environment. However, it was also worth noticing that some students expressed a preference for more individualized tasks or more direct teacher guidance, indicating that diverse learning styles should be considered. So it did bring us to some realization that there could be multiple differentiated kind of task-based interventions as well. Our results strongly support the efficacy of TBI in improving both collocational accuracy and narrative writing skills, aligning with key theories like Schmidt's noticing hypothesis. The structured phases of TBI, from initial awareness raising to collaborative tasks, effectively facilitated both conscious noticing and deeper processing of collocations. A significant takeaway is that collaborative tasks within TBI are particularly effective in enhancing noticing, especially relevant for a context with limited resources like that of Pakistan. The strong correlation between collocational accuracy and overall writing proficiency underscores the focus that focusing on collocations is not just about vocabulary, but about improving the overall quality and naturalness of writing. Beyond linguistic gains, TBI had also positive affective benefits, as it boosted their confidence, motivation, and engagement, which is crucial for language learning. Now, for pedagogical purposes, these findings suggest a move away from traditional rote learning towards a more task-driven and student-centered approach. Providing constructive feedback is also paramount for building students' confidence. However, we acknowledge the challenges such as the time required for task preparation and potential initial resistance from students is accustomed to conventional methods. In conclusion, our study provides compelling evidence that task-based instruction can significantly improve the language skills and emotional engagement of ESL students, particularly in narrative writing and collocation use. Based on these findings, we offer several recommendations as well. For teachers, we suggest a gradual adoption of TBI, beginning with simpler tasks and providing consistent, constructive feedback to build student confidence. Institutions should prioritize investing in teacher training focused on developing context-specific TBI activities and creating learning environments that support collaborative work. Curriculum designers, however, have a more crucial role in integrating TBI into the ESL curriculum with clear guidelines for its implementation and effective evaluation as well. And for policymakers, last but not the least, we recommend supporting long-term research on TBI's effect and updating assessment methods to better capture practical language use rather than grammatical accuracy. Ultimately, the successful integration of TBI requires a concerted, holistic approach and efforts from educators, institutions, curriculum developers, and policymakers to create a more effective and engaging learning environment for ESL students. And that's all from my co-author, Ms. Rabia Khatoon, and myself, Ms. Najia Nazir. If there are further questions and if there is any question about the references and the data sets, please feel free to write us as these email address. And we all hope you all for an enriching research journey. Bye from us.